lot to live up to now. That's it's kind of scary. I'm Justin. A little bit about me. I live in Raleigh. We own a house. We bought it 19 years ago. It's gone up in value like everyone else's. My claim to fame is retiring at 33 in 2013, so 9 years ago. And so I'm here today. I'm going to talk to you about the 9 lessons I've learned in my 9 years of early retirement. So essentially just, what I picked up over the years and what I've seen from looking at other people that have retired early. A lot of patterns and trends emerge where I think there's some things you worry about that you don't need to be concerned about. So I can kind of maybe help out with some of those fears just from sharing my own experiences. My kids, they were 1, 7, and 8 9 years ago. Hope the math checks out on that. But how did I make my money? It was pretty boring, ordinary engineering stuff. I worked for a consulting firm for 7 years and then did 3 years working for the state of North Carolina, building toll roads, which is like a lot more fun than working in the private side. But there was, pros and cons to both. Education background, so engineering degree from NC State, and I got a Spanish language and literature degree. So it was, did a little bit of the, left brain and right brain stuff back in the day. The Spanish degree was kind of cool because it opened up, I could travel in Latin America a lot easier and get by speaking the language down there, and did some study abroad, and we've been back several times to visit down there. So kind of a fun hobby too. And then I got my law degree. Spent 6 years doing engineering because it's way better than practicing law, I think. Got my law license, did a couple of pro bono cases for friends and family. So anyway, I did the engineering thing. It made enough money, pretty much 40 hours per week work, nice 9 to 5 schedule, pretty laid back. So it's kind of cool. Made a fairly average salary the whole time. I capped out at $70,000 per year my last year of employment, and that was 2013. So adjusting for inflation, that's $86,000 per year in today's dollars. My wife also ended up right about $70,000. So neither one of us had a 6-figure job ever, in 2013 dollars or in today's dollars. So it's, there's certainly hope for people that are making $50,000, $60,000 starting out. You can still do it. It just may take you a year or two longer, but we did it in 10 years or so. Some of that was just good investment returns, investing throughout the Great Recession, just dumping money in there as much as we could. We knew at the time that was probably going to be the best opportunity to invest in our lifetimes. And so I think I mentioned here before, I don't know if it was the whole group, but we watched our portfolio balances go down 18 months straight, even though we're putting in thousands and thousands of dollars every month, and we were still losing money essentially every month for 18 months straight, from 07 through about halfway into 09 until the market turned around. So it was a pretty ugly period. Hopefully we're not in that same kind of period right now, but if you do see your investment balances not going up for several months or even a year or two, keep in mind that this is probably going to be the best opportunity of your lifetime if the market keeps going down. So my 9 lessons, I kind of split them up because I think there's a lot of financial stuff that you see in early retirement, financial independence. A lot of it is math-based spreadsheets. I think that's sort of because the people that end up doing this, a lot of them are the math people, the engineer people, spreadsheet people. There's really about an equal number of non-financial lifestyle considerations that people think about and worry about. It's harder to analyze them. It's not quantitative. There's no right and wrong answer. So we'll kind of talk about some of those lessons too. The first lesson, when I was preparing for early retirement, it was always like, I'm a spreadsheet guy. I had all this stuff detailed out. I would run the numbers, update it constantly, think about it a lot, worry about the 4% rule and exceptions to it, and what's my withdrawal rate going to be? How much less risk is there at 3.25% versus 3.5%, and is that worth working 6 more months to get down from a 95% portfolio survivability to get up to 96%, 97%? Like, what are those trade-offs? And so there's a lot of thinking about that before I quit working, and now it's kind of like I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm like, okay, we're good. The last 9 years have been generally upwards, so we've been doing pretty well. I don't really budget or try to spend a certain amount. I mean, we have a budget, like $40,000 per year is still our budget. We pretty much just stay within there. Some months that we spend $1,000, some months we spend $5,000 or $6,000. It really just depends on, are we buying a new roof? Are we, booking a summer in Europe? Like, if we don't have any big expenses, sometimes we literally just spend money on groceries and utility. So the spending is very variable. There's no way we would spend exactly $3,300 a month according to our budget. It's pointless to even try that. So that's kind of the big picture. Is it's all over the place. But I look at it year by year to make sure we're not going off the charts. We've been pretty consistent with our spending, so not too many concerns there. I'll throw a little message in here about Affordable Care Act. I've got some fans here in the front row. So, for our purposes, it's worked very well for us. We've paid almost nothing for the insurance, which is a lot of employer-provided insurance. You're paying several $100s if you have a spouse, sometimes up to $1,000 for family coverage. And we've been paying between $0 and $125 a month for 9 years. So pretty cheap insurance overall. Networks have been variable. I have switched doctors several times, but I go to get a physical once a year, and that's pretty much it. So it may not work out if you need to go to a certain doctor or a certain network. For me, it's like, well, I have the Duke University system. I have the University of North Carolina system. It's usually one or the other, but never both. I'm okay with that. It works out. I don't have an access to healthcare where I live. Maybe it's an issue wherever you are. You can check it online, look at healthcare.gov, see if it works for your situation. It can work out pretty well. Everyone's experience varies, but for us, it's worked. Nationwide coverage, overseas coverage, very variable. Something to look at, something to factor in for which plan you pick. Maybe it's worth paying more for national or international coverage. Maybe it's not. You just get travel insurance or take on the risk of paying out of pocket. But it's worked for us. Making money. So on the side, I've made more money than I ever thought I would. Almost as much as when I was working. Started a blog, put some words on the screen, and historically it's been between $10,000 and $25,000 per year of income, and I haven't really spent that much effort on it in the last 8 years. It was really that first year or so I got kicked off and built it up, and so it's not passive income, but it's fun. I mean, if you enjoy doing it, it's been an amazing experience to be connected to people and to see people reading what you're writing. I think every writer wants other people to see what they're writing, so it's a good platform. You own your own content. I also, through the blog, I think 2015, 2016, people kept asking me over and over, hey, can I talk to you about money? I'll pay you. And I said, no, like 100 times, and finally I said, okay, fine. So I started talking to them about money, and they paid me. It makes $5,000 or $10,000 per year. I spend an hour per week at the most usually. Not a lot of time. Credit card, bank brokerage bonuses. Go to the travel hacking session in a little bit. We can talk a little bit more about that. Pretty high hourly earnings rate there. This is signing up for the $500 credit card bonuses. Spend what you're normally spending anyway. Get paid a big bonus. That's sort of how that works. I added it up in the last 12 months. Just my credit card travel hacking was $13,000, depending on however I spend it. So when I'm spending $40,000 per year, I'm actually also maybe spending another $10,000 or $20,000 in free travels. So and then the other thing is just like random deals and freebies where they're giving away, like if you click on this thing, they'll send you something for free, or signing up for a credit card and they'll give you like a free $100 credit for hotels or whatever. I quit working in 2013. We had $1.1 million in our portfolio. The numbers worked out with what we were spending. The portfolio started going up, and I quickly adjusted my budget upward just to have a little more flexibility in our spending. We're still kind of spending some years close to what the initial budget was, but so I decided to spend a little bit more money pretty early on as the portfolio went up. Also, some of that was, I saw I'm making all this other money from other stuff I wasn't expecting, so I can also spend a little bit more money. And this is pretty common for a lot of retirees, that most people will end up with more money 10, 20, 30 years down the road than what they started with. So just think about that long term, like what does it mean and how are you going to adjust for increasing your spending long term. This is the math. So I run this through cfiresim.com if y'all want to check out. That's a good retirement calculator, like a good forecasting tool. But basically, I put in like a 3.25% withdrawal rate, very conservative for a 40-year withdrawal on $1 million. And what happens if you're spending down for 40 years? How much money will you have left? And basically, at the end of 40 years, you would have, you start with $1 million, you would spend money every year, and you would still have $3.6 million, 3.6 times as much as you started with after 40 years. And this is just, the median person in the middle. The average is even higher because you have some crazy years where you end up with like $20 million. The point is here that most people end up with a lot more money than they started with, so don't be afraid to adjust your spending upwards at some point. So that's sort of the end of the financial lessons. Those are the first 4 lessons. So now we're going to get into a little bit loosey-goosey, psychological, lifestyle, softer issues. So this is a toilet paper fort. I've built multiple toilet paper forts in my life. It's kind of fun. This was before the pandemic. I wasn't responsible for. Everyone asked that, like, you're the problem. You're part of the problem, not part of the solution. No. So boredom hasn't really been an issue for me. I get asked that a lot, and I think people worry about it. I always tell people, what do you do on the weekends? Like, what do you do for fun? How do you stay entertained? And if your answer is like, I don't know, I get kind of anxious if I'm just sitting there for a few hours, I don't have anything to do. I mean, seriously, you may have a problem in early retirement because there is no one telling you what to do. There's no adult telling you what to do. This is a good question too. What did you do in your childhood that brought you a lot of joy? And I look back on it, and it's video games, reading books, riding bikes. I do a lot of that now. So it's sort of the same thing. It's just a collage of me doing stuff. I actually put 2 pictures of me reading books by the lake in the backyard, biking, we had like a LAN party with my kids. They thought that was fun. I cook, that's pad thai. And then this is me adding more RAM to my wife's computer. So I tinker around some, relax a lot. I was gonna put like a whole 3-slide series on me watching Netflix, but it looked kind of weird, so I cut that out. But a lot of people have questions about, is it going to be easy to stay active and make friends? And this is, an equally big concern. A lot of people have this fear, and I think just in general, it's hard to make friends as adults. I mean, how do you're not in school anymore. If you're at work, you have work friends. Most people, when they leave work, they don't have work friends anymore because they're only there because they work with you, not because they're like your good buddies. So how do you have that network of friends? And there's, that can be a whole presentation in itself. Do what you enjoy doing. Get back in touch with old friends of yours. Join local sporting events, local clubs. I've tried different things, experimented. I joined a book club. Didn't work out, but it was worth a try. And I've made a lot of friends through the blog, which I'm kind of a unicorn in that respect. There's lots of people that have read it and they end up reaching out. Lou, we've hung out on my back porch several times. So this one's about travel. So my idea of travel before was pretty much the idea of travel that the typical American enjoys. It's you have off 2 weeks of vacation per year, maybe 3. If you have kids, they're always sick and you got to take off a few days. So you get like a week or 2 a year of useful vacation time. So you would go somewhere for a week, do an intense vacation, see everything, and come back exhausted, wondering why you didn't have an extra day or 2 to relax after your vacation that was supposed to be relaxing. So I kind of just extrapolated that into the future for the next forever and assumed that I would just keep traveling. Like it didn't really click that we could do things very differently. We don't really do the weekend getaway vacations anymore. It's just too hectic. 1 week is like a really short vacation. We don't want to do those either. So we do a lot of stuff in the summers. So we're kind of pinned down by we do traditional schooling for the kids. So all of our kids are in traditional school. So we really have the months of June, July, and August to do the big traveling. And so as soon as I quit working, my wife just took off every summer. The first trip was the Canada road trip. We wanted to take it easy. We were new to this, big trip traveling thing. We had a 5-week itinerary planned out all through the Northeast United States, into Canada and back down. Very ambitious with a 2-year-old. So we got about 2.5 weeks into it and said, this is it, we're done. So we turned the Honda Accord around in Quebec City. 2 days later, we got home. But we tried pretty hard to do this thing. It just wasn't working out. We went home and it was great. My wife still had off several weeks from work. So it was like a little mini staycation for several weeks, a good early retirement trial run. So it was a nice experience as well. We knew our limits. 2-year-olds traveling kind of hard. Slow the pace down, learn a lot of lessons along the way. So that was our first big trip, 2014. And then we've done a trip every summer since, except 2020, which I think we know what happened. 2020 got a little harder to travel in the summertime back then. So we just stayed at home for all of 2020, like everyone else, and stared at each other. We went from the couch, we vacationed in the kitchen sometimes, the bedroom, upstairs, downstairs. I mean, it was a lot of different places we visited during that 2020 period. But we've been to, so after the big Canada trip, we went to Mexico for, I think, 9 weeks with a 3-year-old. And then so we figured out, this is kind of a proof of concept, we can do this. So a little bit of different travel, just much, much slower paced than we used to do back before we quit working. It looks a lot different. I guess when I get back to the money part of it, it really doesn't cost a ton more money to travel for, let's say, 8 weeks in Europe than it does to go there for 2 weeks, because you have a plane ticket that costs the same thing regardless. Instead of renting by the night in a hotel, we're renting by the week in an Airbnb. We'll have a full kitchen, so we can always get groceries. We're not going to eat out, for 9 weeks straight, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there's some economies of scale there. Slower pace. We get to enjoy actual things in Europe instead of just visiting the tourist bucket list stuff. So that's kind of a nice little benefit to it. Lesson number 8. So this is sort of maybe a little bit of a downer, to know that your stress and anxiety and worries and fears and things that bother you, they never go away. I mean, you're always going to have family issues of some sort out of your control, friends, health issues come up, you're busy, you're just down for whatever reason, a pandemic hits. I mean, anything can come up. You're going to have stuff to deal with in life. Early retirement does not fix all of those problems. It'll fix your job problem if you're stressed at work, if you're busy at work, have no time for yourself. It fixes that problem. It addresses it very well, very effectively. The other issues, you're still going to have. The nice thing is you have so much more mental bandwidth to take care of the issues when they come up, instead of kicking the can down the road and ignoring them where they get worse, or blowing up and saying, I hate you, I can't stand you, I don't ever see you again. When, if you're more relaxed because you're not at work all the time, you may have time to take a step back and then act reasonably. So that's one of those things that I've learned is you're still going to have issues. There's still going to be stuff that comes up. And I've only had like 1 or 2 kind of major issues that come up that wasn't my fault totally, but you know how it is. And so lesson number 9 is kind of an easy one. I think everyone's presentations here have kind of said the same thing to some extent. So I'm probably repeating this, probably preaching to the choir here, but have fun. This is the only life that you get. You get one shot at it. Make it count. Whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I won't point out someone here might be older than some of us here, but it's good. Live it up. Enjoy your life. It's a balancing act of saving money, investing, building for that future self. Save for today, but also live for today, and invest for 10 years out. So keep your goals in mind when you're making money choices. Don't just, you don't have to have a 90% savings rate. We never had a 90% savings rate. We still got there in 10 years. Maybe it'll take you 12 years or 15 years, but that's okay too. So enjoy life while you do it. Spend time with the people that you love. That's my son, but that's probably several years ago, and he's acting goofy, and he's got his little finger. He's like doing this thing, but this is just on a little lake in Raleigh. So that's pretty much, that's all I have. I can take some questions. I think it's, thank you.